Hillary versus Bernie Renewable Energy Edition. Finally, we are starting to get a glimpse on the real platforms of Democratic presidential candidates. Hillary Clinton has promised to make renewable energy one of the pillars of her administration, putting forth two big goals. But she's not the only one. Bernie Sanders has already sponsored legislation to ramp up the use of solar power in America. But first, let's talk about Hillary's proposal to have 500 million solar panels installed in the US by the end of her first term and clean energy powering every home in America in 10 years if she wins office. So we are starting to see that they're coming out with real plans, with the pillars of their platform, real policy making, and not only inflammatory comments, not only defensive moves, not only calculated interviews on TV. We're starting to see what they're going to be implementing once they are in the boat.
I mean, I see your 10 million.
No, 10 million
by Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders did the 10
million.
million.
I'll see your 10 million. I'll raise you to 500 million here. Isn't this just more pre-presidential posturing? What type of authority will she have to do this? The EPA is the regulatory body that controls most of our renewable energy policy here in the U.S. And she's saying a lot of great things that people want to hear regarding renewable energy. Well, not a lot of people. Full disclosure, I'm from Kentucky, which is a major coal state. From Harlem to Hazard, I mean, coal is very generational. Yes. Where I'm from. It's handed down, you know, 5th and 6th generation coal miners. So they are affecting real people and real lives with these posturing issues. That said, you know, I don't know. I know you think I'm a hater here a little bit. I'm not. I have no opinion on Hillary Clinton whatsoever. This specific aspect, though, this energy plan, I don't see her pulling this off. 500 million. I just don't. I wish that I did. Maybe it's a lack of faith on my part.
I like that you touch upon the coal mining industry and how they will be affected. And this is not something that only happens in the US. I think around the world where they are shifting from, you know, fossil fuels into renewable energies, we'll see this phasing out of coal and people being affected by it. As it stands today, Obama administration has a $3 billion fund, emergency fund, for people affected in the coal industry. Also, Hillary Clinton said in the same speech, she said, I'm not going to leave behind those who kept the lights on for centuries in this country, which I think is important, but she didn't put forth any, you know, real specifics of how she's going to deal with it. What she did in specifics is that she wants to provide a third of the energy of the country, a third of the electricity of the country by 2027. That means increasing solar power by 700%. It sounds like a lot, but if you pay attention to the rise of solar energy, we've seen the growth, and it happens in between 400% and 500% growth every year for the solar industry. This is something that is catching on. There's a lot to do. Now, like you mentioned, coal amounts for 40% of the U.S. production. If we want to raise from 13% that solar power, you know, accrues right now to 33%, we're going to have to eat out from that. On top of that, we have Obama's administration gas emission limitations, which also affects the coal industry. So definitely that's not going to be very popular. But what we see is that Hillary is getting into this terrain, like you mentioned, of telling the people what they want to hear. I think she realized what's her audience, what is her constituents, and the people that want to hear that.
What does that say, Jose, that she is taking a page out of Bernie Sanders' playbook? She's watching, somebody in her camp is watching the response that he's getting regarding this issue, or maybe she's perhaps always felt this way and she's just now putting it out there. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I think it's politics. It's game time right now. Everybody needs to get an edge. And what I want to point out is that Bernie Sanders has been after this, not in the campaign trail. He introduced a bill in Congress in 2011 called the 10 Million Solar Roof Act. And the whole point of this legislation is to make it easier for people to install their solar panels. Because right now, cities, the permitting process amounts to about $2,500 for each installation. He wants, with this legislation, to incentivize cities to make it really cheap and really affordable for people to do the permitting to get the installation done in solar power. He wants 10 million homes and businesses powered by solar energy by 2020. But what we are seeing is that Bernie Sanders has been working on these issues for a long time, and Hillary, like you said, say, oh, that's hot, let me put it on the bill. They put out a big website, they put out 4 pages, a study about it. So it's important to notice who has been doing this for a while and who is just jumping on game time mode and just trying to sell this idea. What do you think?
I think that she's jumping into game time mode and trying to sell this idea. That said, she probably has felt this way for a long time. She has really brilliant, beyond brilliant advisors, and this is clearly a very hot button issue. It's a way to get a lot of traction. You know, people across the aisle who support renewable energy plans, especially really stiff ones like this, she might collect a few people for the Hillary camp. I mean, who knows? I don't know.
Well, also part of this proposal is to continue the tax credit that exists and is expiring in 2016. How do you feel? Do you think renewable energy is the way to go and you support this Hillary or the Sanders plan? Let us know in the comments and please subscribe to the Lib TV 2.